Hi guys, welcome to another video in this channel. Today we're gonna start with a new project, but before we do that, just want to remind you that this weekend we have our portfolio review. Today is Wednesday, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday depending on the time you're watching this video. But if it's Wednesday and we haven't started our portfolio review yet, make sure to go down here into the links, found the portfolio link, and this is probably gonna be the last day that I'm gonna be accepting submissions because I need to re-record all of these videos for you guys this weekend. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, there's been a couple of questions about the Marble Designer course. It's coming soon. It's done. But you guys know that it takes a little bit of time to make sure everything is like up and running. So as soon as we have the release, you guys are gonna be the first ones to know. Okay. So today I'm gonna follow along, or I'm gonna listen to one of the suggestions from someone in the comments that mentioned that they wanted to have like a sort of like a jewelry class, if you wish. Now I'm not a jeweler. Jeweler, is that the word? I don't make jewels. However, sculpting jewels is not like super, I mean, it is of course difficult. What I mean to say is you can start experimenting with sculpting jewelry very easily inside of ZBrush. So the cool thing about rings, especially like sculpted rings, is that you can do some really crazy stuff like this sort of thing without that much of a problem, right? Like, or there's like hair ring that's very cool. So there's a lot of like really cool stuff that we can do, and yeah, it's relatively easy. So I thought, okay, how can we do this into a cool project? And we're gonna be doing a sort of like leech ring. So you guys know I love fantasy, and leeches in like D&D or all media are like this undead skeletons. So I'm thinking maybe this is like a cursed ring from one of these guys, and yeah, but let's make it really cool. So ZBrush actually has this jewelry little folder here on your lightbox, and you can use this as a starting position. So I'm gonna use this signet ring because it's gonna be like a relatively thick ring. Now I'm not sure what the measurement is for this one. There was a plugin. I'm not sure if it's here, but I saw a plugin once it's meant to be used to create like rings. So it's like a ring maker plugin. You guys might want to Google that because I saw it somewhere at some point. But we can do it from here. So I'm gonna turn off perspective, and the first thing I need to do is, of course, I need to plan, right? Like we need to have a sort of like plan to how we want this ring to be. So let me open my painting software. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm missing my pen. There we go. Yep. So I'm gonna create a new file here, and we'll just paste this. So if we take a look at this guy right here, I'm gonna do the following. I am just gonna start sketching the idea that I have. So I was thinking, okay, what would be cool? Well, I want this to have a skull. That's like pretty obvious. So we're probably gonna have like a big skull here on the front, like this. I would like the skull, like if you think about the skull being here in like perspective, I would like the skull to have the eyes open, or yeah, the mouth open. So if the skull's right about here, and that's the jaw, then the jaw would be kind of like open at this point. I'm not really good at drawing. Hopefully you guys get the idea. I was thinking it would be cool if the skull is blind, because I always like to think about the story, like how am I gonna like utilize this somewhere? And in my D&D game, a couple of my players found a cursed, like super strong ring that has the ability to cast a spell called Power World Kill. It's a very powerful spell, and I thought that this skull might not want to see who he's killing, so I'm gonna bandage the eyes right here. And in the mouth, he's gonna have like a stone. That's where the stone is actually gonna be, right? Like the precious stone. I'm still not sure which stone that's gonna be. Now, to like kind of like fade this thing into something, I think it would be cool to have this sort of like bony, organic effect here on the sides, right? Like sort of like kind of like ribs holding the skull together. So as you can imagine, this is going to be like covered with the bandage. And the final thing that I need to add is the symbol of my main villain, which is going to be probably up here on the element. That's one option, right? Like this is one of the options. Another option would be to actually have the skull sideways. So let me Control B again to add another one, and maybe we do the same thing, but the skull is sideways like this. And that will be like one eye, the other eye. And then like the jawline over here. You know, I think sideways looks a little bit better. And I would still add like the bony protrusions on this side right here. That thing keeping it sideways and kind of like very organic, very carved into the object would be pretty cool. So we have a couple of options. First of all, we could sculpt the object like this and then go into our stroke options and change the not stroke, center transform options, change the symmetry so we're working from like back to bottom, or yeah, back to front. So, or we can just like rotate this 90 degrees, right? And now this is going to be symmetrical, so I can sculpt my skull right here. And yes, I could go into the Lightbox, grab a subtool and everything, but I want to show you like how I would sculpt this from scratch. So I'm going to start with a sphere right here. I'm going to append sphere. And I'm going to, let's turn this thing on so that we can see where we're like placing this. And I'm going to place this where I would expect the thing to be. So before I sculpt, before anything, I want to kind of get an idea of where things are going to be. I'm also going to append. There's a really cool one here on the projects. It's like the actual D20. So this one. So I'm just going to double click. Oh, it's going to open a new project. Okay, no, never mind. I'm just going to append. And let's do like a cube. So the cube will represent the crystal, right? And the crystal is going to be, like usually the crystal you want it to be like straight in the center, right? So that means that maybe the skull is going to be like out here. Now let's give a little bit of form to the skull. So I know that this thing is going to be like right here. I'm going to do some very basic like primary shapes. So let's of course Dynamesh. I've been having really bad allergies, so I'm sorry if I sound a little bit congested. There we go. That's where the zygomatic arc is going to be. And I do want to sculpt it like this in this position. I know it seems or looks very, very uncomfortable. But the thing is, if we do this, then I can make sure that it kind of follows the shape of the ring. Because otherwise, if I just sculpt like a skull normally, and then just like append it on top of the ring, yes, it will work. But I don't know. I kind of feel like doing this in the way a normal like jewel maker would do it will give it a little bit more like validity, right? So there we go. Now I'm gonna remove some of the volume here, because that's where the mouth is gonna be. There we go. Yeah, I mean, proportions are not that bad. I think we're in a good place. He's gonna have the bandage, so I don't really care that much about the eyes right now. What I do care about is the jawline, right? Like, I want this thing to be kind of like opening the mouth, so that means I'm probably gonna have to move this thing like this. And now, for the jaw, we can do it on the same piece, but I don't think it's a good idea. So I'm gonna add another sphere. And with my move brush, I'm gonna start like creating, so like the shape of the jaw, which is like a U shape, right? Let's Dynamesh this one as well. One thing I can do is I can kind of like position the jaw where it's supposed to be first. And kind of create like the proper shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. So if we see it from the front, you can see that that's roughly the shape of a skull. And now we're gonna rotate this out. Let's go here. Let's Dynamesh, and let's start carving like the hole that we will have like right here. That's also it's gonna give me a nice idea of how this thing is gonna look. So I like it. I think it's cool, but it's not center, right? So I'm gonna go to the cube. I'm gonna mask it, and I'm gonna go back to this guy. Actually, gonna go to the ring and mask it as well. And then if I grab this guy and press W, I can press this little button right here, which is gonna allow me to move everything. And now I can scale it as well. So we can go really, really high. I think I'm gonna go like this. let's block this thing. Grab the jawline. And I'm gonna kind of like break the jaw a little bit like this. So now the square, as you can see, is still on the center. And we can play around with the skull to get it into a nice place. Of course, like this inner part of the skull, we're gonna hide inside the ring. And yeah, there we go. So when we see it from the front, this is like super creepy ring, right? Like on the shape that we want. Now let's think about how we're gonna like manage this area over here. I mean, of course we can make it like super complex. I think I want to be honest. Now if I do this right here, you're gonna see that yes, we have symmetry on like this side and this side, but we don't have symmetry on like a left and right? So I'm gonna go to transform and I'm gonna say active symmetry on the x-axis as well. So now if I start like moving things around on this side, you're gonna see that we're gonna get the details on both sides. So I'm just gonna sketch first, like kind of like the idea that I'm kind of going for, and I will have this sort of like pillars going up here. So something like this. There we go. That looks interesting. Now, as you can see, like down here on this one, they're not getting all the way to where the head would be. So we need to work a little bit on that one. Let's go back a little bit. Oh. Let's start like here and start like pushing. There we go. Just creating some interesting shapes, right? And I think eventually what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna merge this thing into the ring, kind of like if this thing was like coming out of the ring. So all of these areas I'm probably gonna like merge together, kind of like if everything was being sculpted from the same piece. I actually think this guy is a little bit too like in. Same for this one. There we go. So it's a little bit closer to the ground or to the edge of the ring. Now this edge right here, I want to bevel it, so I'm gonna use my trim dynamic to kind of bevel this down and recover like that sort of hard edge that we have coming from the back. Cool. So on this side, I'm gonna keep it like really clean. That's we've talked about this before. I think I've mentioned this in other occasions. But you want to have like sort of a balance between like a lot of detail and not a lot of detail. That looks kind of weird, right? Let's choose another shape because that's a little bit suggestive. Okay. So now that we have this, now they have a good shape, we can start thinking about like the stone, for instance. And for the stone, what I want to do is I'm going to give it a little bit more volume. I don't want it to be a perfect stone. I want it to be like this very raw, like powerful, evil energy. So I'm going to like make it protrude a little bit out of the mouth. I'm going to dynamesh this. And with trim dynamic, I'm going to start like hammering in like different bevels, as you can see here. And it's going to give me a very nice, like, polished effect. Like this. Okay. So yeah, as you can see, the bevel is really good to give us this sort of like fragmented look, like on the overall shape. And now it looks like this stone is like just encrusted on the skull, right? Now that I think of it, I think it's a good idea to merge the skull and this guy to the ring. So I'm gonna turn off my little rock right here. Just leave the ring active. Well, actually, I'm gonna keep the jaw separated. So let me turn that one off as well. And I'm gonna say merge. Select this ring. I'm gonna say merge down, and it's gonna merge the two subtools that are like this. And with Dynamesh, that's gonna happen. But before that happens, I'm gonna, since this is a still poly group, I can mask it and just like trim dynamic this to get it inside of the ring. There we go. So now when we Dynamesh, we're gonna get this. And I was thinking it might be a little like an interesting thing if this thing kind of like blends into the ring. Again, like a very organic sort of like carved way. Here's where we're gonna have the, there we go, kind of looks like smoke. It's kind of like the effect I was going for, like some sort of like spiritual flame or something. Now, I'm thinking way ahead here, right? But all of these little groups and all of these little lines, they're going to be filled with a little bit of rust and a little bit of like grime and dirt. So those are going to look really, really, really cool once we get into the texturing part, because I am going to be texturing this. You guys probably seen this kind of stuff in games like Dragon Age and stuff, where you pick an object and it doesn't like, you don't see the full object on the character, but if you go into the inventory and if you like inspect it, there's a lot of information there with the object, right? So that's kind of what we're going for here. Like a really, really cool object. Definitely need to increase the Dynamesh resolution, so let's increase it and start working on some of the details. It's also a great practice for those of you learning ZBrush, and if you're doing your first like skull and stuff, which is always something I give as a homework. It's a really good way to practice as well. There we go. I'm gonna use my move brush to push the bridge of the nose a little bit in. And we're not gonna go for like precise anatomy. I don't think it's really necessary. But just like the basic stuff. We can definitely make it like angry. Skulls are not angry, by the way. This is just like a cliche thing, but it looks cool. And you could just start pushing this thing in. Now on this side, here's where we're gonna have the teeth. The best way would be to have the teeth as a separate subtool, but I don't think we're gonna have, like, again, given this is gonna be like a small ring, I'm trying to make this as traditional as possible. Like imagining that I'm a blacksmith or a jewel maker, so I don't think they would have the opportunity to have like super small teeth. So it's probably just gonna be like carved into the metal. So I'm just creating here the area or the options, the zone, if you wish, to be able to later on carve the rings. So you can see I'm going like really, really in to allow for like the back teeth as well. I'm gonna use my trim dynamic, and we're gonna start shaping this again to kind of like create the zone where we're eventually gonna be carving in the teeth. There we go. Now this area right here, just gonna delete it. Again, just kind of like blend it. In case at any point, like I'm thinking about like a cinematic or something, and maybe the stone gets destroyed or something, we need to carve something here, right? Like there needs to be something here. Doesn't have to be, again, like anatomically perfect. There has to be something there. Now let's turn on the jaw. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete like this inner part of the jaw. So I'm gonna say delete hidden. Oh, okay. If that doesn't work, we're gonna use our knife tool, one of the newest additions into the there we go. And then I'm gonna say let's change this to select lasso. I'm just gonna select the jawline. There we go. I'm gonna say delete hidden. I'm gonna say mirror and then weld, and that's it. So now when we Dynamesh, we could just start smoothing some of this out. Smooth it out again. There we go. So the jaw is very like similar to the upper part. We have like the part where the teeth are, like here, and then this thing's usually a lot like thinner, simmer. Have a little bit of like the chin, and that's roughly the shape of the jaw. Let's bring it back. Yeah, look at that. Pretty cool, right? I think we can give this a little bit more stylization. Cool. I like that. I like that. It's looking nice. Now here I'm going to turn off, I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to turn off, to transform, and I'm going to turn off the C symmetry. So I only want to work on the X symmetry. Because as you can see, this is asymmetrical, right? Like the insertion point of the head is not the same as the insertion point down here. So we need to find or come up with something like down here that's going to make a sense and look cool. So I'm thinking something that might be interesting. What about like some tentacles? Is that something that might look good? Let's sketch it out. So I'm thinking like this big tentacles right here, going onto the inside of the, like the side of the mouth. I don't think my players see my channel. They're not 3D artists, so I don't think anyone really sees my channel. So I'm gonna spoil a little bit. If you're one of my players and you're watching this video, I suggest you stop right now, because you're gonna be listening to an important part of the story that we're playing, and you might not want to listen to that. So the main villain of the story, her name's Kabbalah. It's a villain I created. She got her powers from a sort of like unknown source. I'm a huge nerd about like Dungeons and Dragons, so I actually created my own world and everything, and there's like it has its lore and stuff. So in the beginning of the world, there was something called the primordial echo, which is when all of the forces of nature kind of like echoed and resonated and created the world. It's not super original, I know, but that's the origin story. And what I want to include here is that this evil source from where the main villain got her powers was there before the echo, and it was the silence, right? So before there was noise, before there was light, before there was anything, there was nothingness, there was silence, and this entity lived there in the silence. So it's gonna be like it's gonna be a nice plot point. They're not even gonna face that guy. Like that's a super like dark god or something. I of course need to still flesh it out a little bit more, but that's a general thing, and it's very much like based on this sort of like eldritch horror. So if you guys have seen about like H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu and all that sort of stuff, so it's kind of like that. So that's why I think this sort of like tentacle looking things. I'm not gonna make them like actual tentacles. That'll be like a little bit weird. But I'm just gonna make this sort of like spiritual like twirly things. We can add like a couple of more, like just where it makes sense to have a couple of this. We can just have these things flowing into each other. And then usually for rings and a lot of this sort of things, you want shapes to kind of like flow and blend in a nice way. So for instance here, it kind of makes sense, I would say, to have this thing like fade out. I don't know. I think I'm gonna make them go like inside of the ring like this. Kind of like fade out into the inside of the ring. So I'm just gonna start carving a little bit of the element right here. That way we can kind of leave this part of the ring alone. Keep it like really flat, really soft. And this tentacles are gonna, or just like tendrils. They kind of look like they're going on the inside, right? Like they give the impression that they're coming from out of the ring and into the element. And now that I added those, I'm even tempted to add like a couple of them like up here. So I'm gonna start like a little bit thick there, and then just make this tendril go like inside of the eyes. I think that will look cool. Let's just start clay build up again and start building. Now I know this tutorial is not as like step by step. When we did the sword, that's a process I've done a million times, so that's why I can explain a little bit more into sort of a production way. Like you do this and then you do this and let's do this and then you change to this. This one's gonna be a little bit more free flowing, so you might see me going back and forth a couple times. I'm gonna carve a little bit there just to add depth to it. And there we go. Now let's grab the stone and let's give it a material just so that we can see something a little bit different. So I'm gonna go for like this red color. I'm gonna turn on mRGB and I'm gonna say color, fill object, and then we can go back to our starter material, and that way we can see the actual like stone, right? I think from a visual standpoint, it will be very, very cool if we can like make this thing float inside of the mouth, right? So I'm gonna go back into the initial shape here. I'm gonna give it a couple more bevels, you know, to make this like a raw ruby. The main like theme in my story right now in the game that I'm playing is well, the main color is red. So the main building's color and everything is red. So that's why this kind of makes sense. There we go. And that way we can kind of like see through it. That's also like really, really cool. Whenever you can have like negative shapes inside of objects, oof, that visually makes it really, really appealing, because it makes it look very complex, very complicated, and that's always like a plus. There we go. Now from a side view, doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit thick on this side. We can just like use our move brush a little bit to change it around if we need to. I don't think we need to be honest. I think it looks interesting as is. Yeah. Cool. So let's go now. Let me see how we're doing on time. I kind of get carried away with this sort of project because it's a lot of fun. Oh yeah, we're almost at the 30-minute mark. So probably gonna be stopping real soon. So I'm just gonna increase the resolution here a little bit, and from here's where we're gonna start like sculpting the teeth, right? So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the 2 frontal teeth, and then there's 4 frontal teeth. Then there's the fangs, and then we usually have 3 pairs of molars. I'm gonna use my diminutive standard to kind of start like carving in the shapes here. Again, no need to be perfect because this is what a jewel rule would be doing, right? So that's why things are a little bit thicker and not as anatomically exact as others. But as you can see, it looks pretty damn cool. I'm gonna open the mouth a little bit more so that he can actually kind of like bite into it. Here, I'm even tempted to like grab the stone and just like push it out, so the teeth are like perfectly biting into it. You know what I mean? It's a little bit wide now, though. There we go. Now on the bottom part, similar thing. Let's increase the Dynamesh resolution so we get more stuff to play around with. And we're gonna have like the teeth right over there. Nice. So now the only thing that we need is to add the like the bandage on top of the eyes, right? And again, there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm thinking about the best one. The best one, to be honest, and I know that this kind of sounds like I did this with like a bad intention to show you a Marvel's Designer, but the best thing would be to go into Marvel's Designer and just like create the bandage. However, I don't think we really need to. I'm just gonna append a ring, and what I'm actually gonna do is just bring it here, because since it's a very like relatively simple shape, I'm gonna follow the bridge of the nose. There we go. And then with my move brush and symmetry turned on, of course, I think this should go around the ring. So the border of the ring is gonna be what's gonna be causing like tension. So in a similar fashion to how the tendrils are going like inside of the object, I think it would be cool. So let's keep it like really straight there. Dynamesh. Probably gonna like push this a little bit above the nose or something. And then with trim dynamic, I'm just gonna flatten this out. So yeah, that looks pretty sick, don't you say? Or wouldn't you say? I don't know, maybe. Okay, let's make sure it goes above the eyes, where the eyes are. And usually this sort of like bandages have like two or three. So I'm gonna press W and then Control Alt and move this thing, and I'm gonna like eliminate symmetry. And this is gonna be like one little band that we have here underneath, kind of like crossing to the other side. You know what I mean? You straighten some of this curve so that it looks like there's tension. And this one we're gonna kind of like hide instead of like the gooey things or something. And then I'm gonna Control Alt again. And there's gonna be another little like piece. Like on this side. So all of this, we're gonna delete it. But for now, just this thing right here. So now we have this sort of like bandaged skull. I don't think I like this guy anymore, so we'll kind of like suggest that these things go back into space. There we go. And again, just to hide them a little bit better, we can go to the ring itself. And for instance, use one of these like side tendrils to kind of like hold or create like a little group if you wish. Create a nice little group there for these things to go. Maybe these are like extra tendrils and they're going in through the bottom part of the eyes. Yeah, that looks pretty damn sick, if I may say so myself. It definitely looks like a cursed ring, right? So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm gonna stop the video right here, and in the next one we're gonna continue sculpting. So today it's Wednesday. We are doing this sort of like introduction to the ring. Tomorrow we'll do more sculpting, and then I think on Friday we're gonna do some retopology. So let me check how my schedule is gonna be because this is gonna be kind of a busy week. So I'll do my best to try to get this thing throughout the next couple of days. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so that you are the first to get the notification and help us grow as a channel. We're at, I believe, 20,500 subscribers. Let's do something special for the 21,000, right? I think that would be a nice occasion. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Hope you like this new series, and let's see where this goes. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.